What is going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. I am also Director of Research at LeDuc Trading. It is January 22nd, 2021. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Today we're going to be talking about the price action in the indices and a lot of the intraday, crazy movements going on. We're going to look under the hood and check out these sectors and style factors. We'll take a look at some of my trades today, and then we'll wrap up with some options order flow. But before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. So let's jump right into it. Today in the morning, it was looking like, oh man, could this be the one? Could we get a big sell-off here? But it ended up being a pretty nice day for the markets. The S&P 500 was down 0.35%. The NASDAQ QQQ was down 0.29%. We had the IWM small caps go full round trip. They finished up 1.16%. At one point, they were down a full percent. And then we had the Dow Jones down 0.61%. So pretty mixed day across the board. There was a lot of volatility, and some hesitation or fear moving into and out of the markets. When you look at the big picture here, the S&P 500, you can see that we are still trading above that 5-day exponential moving average. We're still above the 20-day and still well above that monthly value area. So nothing really too bearish about what's going on here. I mean, I almost think it's better that we're just getting a little bit of sideways consolidation. Because if we just kept, going parabolic, that would be like, okay, this is getting a little bit overheated, a little bit crazy. It wouldn't be a bad thing if maybe even next week too, we just kind of move sideways. Maybe even have like a little dip and then work on that side for a while just to work off this pretty powerful 3-day move here. Yeah, still looking pretty bullish. Let's see the Qs. Qs, very similar story. A lot of the mega cap tech names had very strong days, consecutively. So today they were just, working off some of the overbought condition. Let's pull up our heat map really quick. There we go. So we can see, and when you look at the breadth in the market today, you can see the breadth wasn't that great. It was pretty mixed. And Intel reported earnings, and it was a big miss, down almost 10%. I believe IBM also did the same. And then, if you take a look, we had Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, all with pretty strong performances. And it's very tough to have, a super weak market when you have these names outperforming. Let's see. Yeah, and then the IW on the small caps. Let's take a look at this candle we had. So you can see these small caps, oh my gosh, so they below the 5-day EMA, and it was looking like, okay, maybe we're going to spill down to the 20. But yeah, we had a very powerful close. The dip was completely bought, and we are back above that 5-day EMA. Yeah, and actually, this looks like it was a new all-time closing high for the IWM. So what we're seeing here is some pretty incredible strength in the market. And, for me, as of right now, my posture is like, if this is what the market is showing me, like how strong it is, and there's a dip buyer coming in at every turn, I'm definitely going to play to the bullish side here. Like, there's no other way I really see to play it when there's this much strength. And it could change at any point, so, I'll certainly change my tune if the market changes. And then the Dow Jones, just, continues to drift sideways. And this one definitely seems like a much lower beta index. It's not exactly the right term, but what I mean is I guess a better term, a less volatile index, where we're just not really seeing much movement here. And so let's see, those are the indices. Well, let's check really quick the VIX. VIX was plus 2.77%. But you can see, the VIX didn't close with like a big green candle or anything like that. It was actually a red candle. You can see at one point the VIX was pretty elevated, at around like almost a 24 handle. And then we ended up closing around, 21.89. Let's take a look at the VVIX. So overall, I mean, things are looking pretty benign. The one thing I will say is that both the VIX and the VVIX are continuing to test the low end of their recent ranges. So, pretty much at every point over the past month, once you get to the low end of the range, it's been a smart decision to lighten up on positions. So either we are going to get some volatility soon, or we're essentially going to start breaking through this range. So we'll have to see which of those occurs. And then if we pull up our sectors and style factors, wow, so this is very interesting. We had, so the tan solar stocks took a little bit of a break. The cannabis names, this YOLO ETF at one point during the day was down well over 1%, and actually closed only negative 0.23%. So I'm actually interested in adding some of those positions. Apparently there is some legislation that is being close to like moving through the House and then potentially the Senate. So we're going to have to see how that progresses on the cannabis front. But that's been a sector I've been bullish on, been positioned in for the better part of a year now. And I still like that sector into 2021. The Chinese technology names up 1.37%. Even biotech, which was pretty weak the past couple days, got a bounce up 1.18%. And a lot of this really changed throughout the day. At one point, almost every single sector was red. And then a lot of these turned green throughout the day. And then for our style factors, wow, we had the cyclicals up 1.24%. Yeah, this all pretty much like shifted towards the end of the day. Because, I mean, like I said, the small caps were deep red for most of the trading session. And then in the last like hour, they really just lifted. And then so we had momentum only slightly positive. Yeah, those are the only two green style factors. The worst performing one was international value. It looks like high beta was down 0.56%. So in terms of some trades I put on, some things on my watch list, we had Big C. And this is one where I added some calls to this one yesterday on this really nice move. And today was kind of nuts because I came into this trading day with so many good-looking setups on my radar. I had a watch list of maybe like 7 stocks that looked like they were completely ready to pull the trigger on. And I had to pick and choose, which ones I went for. So Big C was one that I did pull the trigger on. This one didn't really make much of a move today, but I'm really liking the way this one is shaping up. So you can see really high relative volume yesterday. Yesterday was where I took my position in the calls, and I purchased the 70 strike calls for March. And then today I actually just added to that position, added some more 70 strike calls. Really what I'm playing for is a move at least to this value area high. And you can see there's a bullish 80% rule in play for this name. So definitely interested in just playing this one out. And then the other one that I added was NEO. And yeah, NEO ended up having a really nice day with some good follow through. Yeah, NEO. And I'm actually going to be putting up a video for Leduc Trading. I'm going to be doing like short videos for them. And so like I'm putting up, short one describing this trade. It's like maybe like a 2 or 3 minute video. But essentially the gist is NEO's been a super bullish stock. If you've been following me, I traded this stock via calls, back in this parabolic run. And I actually caught a really nice short in NEO as well. I day traded short, but it was like a short report came out of the stock. And I believe it was like maybe this candle where I got like a really nice short on it. But anyway, NEO continues to be a stock that is in play. And what I noticed was back here when NEO was in the 20s, there was an analyst report that came out, like an analyst upgrading the stock to a price target of like 42. And at the time, that was like, oh my gosh, that's almost like double where it's trading for right now. And that catalyzed just a huge momentum move in the stock. So now you can see we consolidated sideways, had a really nice push up. They did announce an equity offering up here. And that's why the stock, cooled off for a couple days and had a period of digestion. whenever a stock announces an equity offering, I usually like to just, exit a position, just kind of see how it shakes out. We had 4 days of just kind of moving sideways here. So this one definitely looked interesting to me. And then this morning, we ended up getting another analyst upgrade. Some analysts came out with like an $83 price target. So I figured, last time there was one of these upgrades, it caused a huge move in the stock. Who knows, maybe we'll get a nice little move in this one as well. So I just purchased some common shares here because the implied volatility is crazy. And yeah, we finished up 6.19%, so pretty awesome. There were a bunch of other stocks that were on my list that completely mooned. Like Gia, this was the setup earlier. Jumio is another one that was on my watch list. And this was another one, like finger on the trigger, ready to go. But I'd put on a couple of other trades already. I don't like to add 4 or 5 trades in one day. So this was one that, just by happenstance, didn't take it today, but ended up having a really good performance. So when that happens, that's certainly okay. It's going to happen all the time. I guess the good thing was just doing the homework, having a bunch of setups, at my fingertips. And, for whoever was in this one, really nice move. And Jumia is probably one that I will get another entry in, at some point. Yeah, really nice move. Palantir is one I know a lot of people traded. Also, really nice move. Really strong today. And it looks like, this is just one gigantic move that pretty much brought us from the lower end of a range all the way to the top. So Palantir is definitely going to be a name that I'm watching for some follow through next week. And then the other one that I did trade was GoodRx. And this is one where I already have a position in GoodRx that I added, somewhere around here. And I have the April 40 strike calls. And I actually added today some April 45 strikes. And this is one where I do believe it has a long fundamental tailwind. I think it'll benefit from the reopening. And I really just want to see, how far this one can take me. So I added to my position here on those calls. And we'll see what happens with that. And then Apple added some the other day. I believe I added, right here. And Apple continues to move. And this one looks like, we're testing the upper end of that range. The thing I'm noticing is, so we knocked on the door here to break beyond, maybe it's 150, failed. We knocked again over here. Another failure. But you see the first failure, we had a huge dip and a really long basing period. This one we had a failure, smaller dip, shorter basing period. And now here we are knocking on the door again. And this might actually be an all closing high. Yeah, it is. So Apple is definitely, I'm gonna have my stop here. But Apple for next week is going to be a really high quality setup. And, we'll have to see if I end up adding to it or really just how I, choose to play those calls that I have on. But this one into earnings, looks really strong. When Apple gets moving, as everybody knows, this thing can trend for a long time. So it's all going to come down to the earnings report. Yeah, it looks like a really strong setup here. And Farfetch is one that I added yesterday. You can see Farfetch. Still, stuck in the base here, but just up ever so slightly. And Farfetch, I really like the way this one is setting up. So we're getting, this, in my opinion, was a pretty nice shakeout. And then now we're sort of progressing up in this base. And, we're having trouble up here. We're not exactly just pushing through. But yeah, I'm looking to see if this one can get its break, sometime soon. PGNY is another position I have on. Added on this candle right here. PGNY, we got some nice follow through, looking really good. So that about does it for the trades, things that I'm watching at this moment. Oh wait, and then also I completely forgot Dragonfly. Dragonfly just killed it. So I have a stop here. I'm gonna have to move my stop up. And I added some more shares. I believe I talked about it in this video. I think on this candle I added some more. So I have a pretty overweight position in Dragonfly at this point. And this one, yeah, just continues to act well, continues to move. I don't really think this one is on many players' radars. And it's going to be uplisted to NASDAQ. So like for me, I started playing this one in like the 50 and 90 cent range. So for this one, it's already more than doubled. And I'm just continuing to add. Because I'm like, the stock may be moving a lot, but it's still only a $2 stock. So who knows? This current zeitgeist of like drone technology, aviation, that sort of thing. You know, Dragonfly is in the drone space. So who really knows? Maybe this thing is like a $10 stock in a year, for all I know. So we'll see what happens with that. Now let's take a quick look at some options order flow. Oh yeah, GameStop. So yeah, GameStop had a ridiculous move. Now this one was so funny. Like everybody, it makes sense because this was just like a multi-standard deviation crazy move. Everyone on Twitter was talking about GameStop. Pretty funny. But this, one of my buddies actually works at a pretty large bank, and he said there were a couple of large clients that were short GameStop. So this is it definitely shows here. This was a pretty big day if you were long, also a pretty big day if you were short. So a pretty wild move. And then yeah, you can see Jumia. There's a call buyer for $5.6 million that came in at 247. So that might have had something to do with like that final push into the end of the day. Fubo, we have a call buyer for May. They bought the 10 strike. Let's see how Fubo did. Okay, Fubo, yeah, it's looking pretty nice. It's shaping up here. So I'll have to see what it does. This stock is like, I traded via a butterfly and made some money on this one. But yeah, it seems like directionally, this one's a pretty tough stock to trade. So I'm not really too sure what to make of this thing. It seems like these shares have changed. Oh my gosh, and has a 65% short float? That's probably wrong. Yeah, that can't be right. This thing has squeezed. Like this was like massive squeeze. Completely fell off a cliff and squeezed a little bit again. This one actually looks kind of interesting for next week. But yeah, the volume's crazy. This one's a roller coaster. And then we have Microsoft. It looks like some players are coming in here. Yeah, it looks like options players are getting more optimistic on these FANG names. Let's see, Microsoft. And I'm long those XLK June calls. So, and Microsoft is about 20% of that fund. And you can see Microsoft also butting up against the upper end of its recent range. This one, not nearly as strong a finish as Apple. But we'll have to see. A lot of these FANG names look like they are ready to go. And if somebody were to ask me, how do we get to 4,000 from here? Like if somebody said, Andrew, I'm going to show you a glimpse of the future. It's February 15th, and the S&P 500 is at 4,000. How did it get there? What I would say is all these FANG names reported. They had good earnings reports, and all of the FANG names broke out of their 6-month ranges. So if you think about like if Microsoft, say, has like, a good earnings report, and let's say the stock goes up 5 to 10%. And let's say that also happens with like Apple or Google or something. These stocks are such a big part of these indices that they're going to, move the indices up. The other thing is like even if the other areas are like a little bit weaker, when you see that you have the FANG names behind the market moving them up, it sort of like instills, I guess like confidence in some of the other areas or whatever you want to call it. But I just think if these names all break out, that really is the path to 4,000. So, yeah, and then I see we had some Snapchat orders. And I am going to be posting my affiliate link for Cheddarflow if you're interested in a 7-day free trial. I do that, on every video I post a link. Yeah, Snapchat also looking kind of interesting. We've sort of been moving sideways for about a month. And, you know, this digital advertising space definitely has some major tailwinds behind it. So Snapchat, you know, looks like some players are coming in to try to capture some upside here. Yeah, see, these are January of 2023, 80 strike calls. And right now the stock's at 53. It's a pretty bold move. And then, yeah, more of the 80 strike calls. So pretty sizable position there. It's not a bad trade in my opinion. Because these digital advertising companies, this one, or like social media play, but these companies, it does seem like they're going to grow over the next year. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. Get some longer term calls. But that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you guys all had an awesome trading week. And, you know, get a nice restful weekend. Get some time away from the screens. I'm certainly going to try to do that tomorrow. And just hang out, do some other stuff. But I will see you guys all next week.